Editing your vocals properly is a big part of achieving a professional vocal, but it's often overlooked, especially by beginners and intermediate producers. It doesn't really matter if you're sending your song to a mix engineer or you're planning to mix the song yourself, you're still gonna need to go through this editing process to get the most out of your vocal. So today I'm gonna break down my vocal editing process into easy, manageable steps so you can follow along and do the exact same thing to your own vocal. We're gonna go over how to organize your projects, how to choose the right takes and what to look for, which is basically vocal comping. We're also gonna look at how to get rid of unwanted noise, breaths and so on in your vocal. And we're gonna check out how to time your vocal and also how to tune your vocal, both manually and with plugins like Autotune or Logic's pitch correction. Now make sure to check out my free Logic template in the description if you like my way of organizing stuff. And I made this template with just stock Logic plugins so you can download it and use it right away without spending money on expensive plugins. Now let's look at how I organize my project. I like to organize my tracks into track stacks, and I will have different track stacks for different elements. So I will have one track stack for all my lead vocals. Then I will have another one for my background vocals where my doubles, my harmonies goes. Then I will have a track stack for my instruments like piano, guitar, keys, synths and so on. And I will have a different one for my bass. And normally I would have a last one as well, which is called effects, where I have my swells, risers and so on, but I don't have any in this song. And as you can see at the top of my project, there's a track called Rec, which is a audio track I like to use to record stuff onto. So I will record my vocals onto this track, and then I will use the marquee tool to highlight and press Option, click and drag the sections I actually want to use in my song. So that way I am keeping the original raw files uncomped up here, and I'm obviously gonna mute this track, and then I can go ahead and comp my vocal inside the track stack. So I always have a backup of the original file. Now I like to use a little bit of processing and some tune when I comp, because I just find it's easier to actually hear if the vocal is gonna work in the final production when it sounds similar to that. Now I'm gonna show you how I comp. I'm gonna show you on a vocal dub right now, since I don't have the raw, unedited, uncomped files of the lead vocal, because this is an old song and I didn't used to do it this way. So I basically just deleted that file. But I'm going to show you the exact same thing on this double. And now first, let's just hear it in solo. Trodde du kunde viska bort allt, för det vi byggde så fort upp. And what I would do when comping is basically maybe listen to the first phrase first and then just go through every single take and see which one I like the best. So let's check out take number 6 now. I didn't really like that. Even with autotune, the tuning is way off, and for a double vocal, I really look for something that is in tune and is gonna work and not distract from the lead vocal. So let's check out take 5. That was better, right? So I would go through and do this. I like take 7, so let's just do that. And let's listen to more of the vocal. Oh, this phrase sounds really weird, so I'm just gonna use a different take for this one. And when I use different takes, I just want to make sure I am switching takes where there's silence, because if I do that in the middle of a word, it's gonna sound really weird and unnatural. Yeah, that's great. And then I would, of course, since it's a double, I would check if it actually works with the lead. So I would pen it to one side and just listen if it works. Yeah, I mean, it's not perfect, but we're gonna go over timing and tuning these vocals in a minute. But I would say it worked. And then I can go ahead, click this B, and I can flatten this vocal. Now, quickly before I show you how I fade and remove silence, if this was a lead vocal, I would probably look for different qualities when comping, because in a background, I just want something that follows the lead as close as possible when it comes to timing and pitch, and I don't want it to sound as intense normally. But with a lead vocal, I would probably look for the takes that give me character and emotion, and I would choose the takes that aren't always the perfect takes, but it gives the most emotion and just takes me on a journey as a listener. That's sort of my mindset for vocal comping. Now, after I have chosen my takes and flattened that folder, I would go in and use the marquee tool again to just take out any silence like that. The endings, maybe in the middle here. And then I would go in and, fade here. Here. I would do that. Now let's do that process on the lead vocal, because it's a little bit easier to hear different breaths and all that. So, as I said, this vocal is flattened already and comped. I have not removed all the silence and I have not made all the fades, and I'm gonna do that with you. For jeg var med da du så meg, og jeg lå med mens jeg grei. As you can hear, there's a lot of breathing, those kind of sounds, and a lot of background noise. Not a lot, but there's quite a bit of background noise when I'm not singing. So I would basically go in and remove most of that stuff. Now, depending on the song, I might actually want some of those breaths. I don't want that, but maybe I want a little bit of this one. Right? But I just like to, even though I want a little bit of that breath, I just want to turn it down. So I will use the marquee tool to cut that out from the other part. I would crossfade here, and just turn the gain down. Right? I could actually drag this over. And then the last breath here, I just want to cut it out. This is way too loud for me, so I will just basically do this again. Press Command, choose the breath, click crossfade by hovering your mouse in this corner, and just drag from the end of the left clip over to the start of the right clip. There we go. And then I would just go in and gain down this. Oh yeah. And all this is just dead. This is just noise, basically. I don't need this. Delete. Also, in here, I heard some stuff that I don't think I need. Again, marquee tool. Cut it out. Remember to fade to avoid clicks and pops. For jeg var med da du så meg, og jeg lå med mens jeg grei. Maybe I actually don't want to remove all this stuff. Maybe I just want to, turn it down a little. Sound a little bit unnatural without it. Du lå med mens jeg grei. So these are things you just got to use your ears to figure out. There's no right answer that you always want to cut out all breaths. men säkra. To me this sounds cleaner. Men säkra. Maybe there's an N at the... No, not really. So the rest of the vocals. Maybe there's a breath here I want a little bit of. See. Want to turn it down drastically. Either way. Down. That one. Let's turn it down. Do that. Crossfade. Crossfade. Boom. A little bit down. A little more. Now that up, that P, I want to keep, but I think I want to turn down this breath a little. So guys, I'm just doing the same thing here, using the marquee tool to find the breaths and the silences, and the silences I'm deleting, but the breaths I like to keep a little bit of. This is way too loud, this breath. Oh, just turning this one down. Fading everything all the time. Turning it down. I don't want this. Now, this is gonna sound a lot cleaner than... For jag var med hatar du som mig. Och jag la mig men säkra. Trodde du kunde viska bort allt. För det vi byggde det så fort upp. Nå som jag var med hatar du som mig. Now that we have removed all unwanted silence, noise, and really turned down the breaths, we're gonna check if there's any like timing stuff we can nudge in the lead vocal. Let's just listen with the piano. For jag var med hatar du som mig. Och jag la mig men säkra. Trodde du kunde viska bort allt. För det vi byggde det så fort upp. Nå som jag var med hatar du som mig. Hade aldrig gått tillbaka till dig. Now, this actually sounds pretty alright tempo-wise, but let's just say that this was over here. Oh, and then I would listen and oh, this one was a little bit off. Okay, this one sounds a little bit early, so I would just go in, I would click snap off, and just nudge it a little bit and see if it sounded better. Maybe I would split up the words, because I really liked how the timing of this word is now, but I just feel like this one is a little bit early still. Maybe I would just nudge this a little bit this way. And now it sounds great, right? So that's what I would do throughout the whole vocal on the lead first. Great, we have looked at how to fix timing issues. I like to do it manually, like I just showed you. You can use flex, rhythmic, and you can go in and do this and just move stuff, but I find that that will give you some artifacts a lot of the time, and I like having the control of doing it manually. Now, after I've done this to the lead vocal, I'm going to check out the timing of the doubles. What you can do is you can move the double temporarily into the lead track stack and just look at the waveforms. And basically just go in and line them up as close as possible. Okay, so this is a pretty okay. Okay, yeah, it looks great. Maybe this one is a little bit early. I'll just fade that. And so on. It's great, and I will... What is this? For D, for D. It's the F for D. It's Norwegian, by the way. Okay, and then I would basically do this to the whole vocal first, like just one pass, just looking. And then I would just listen to it and check if it actually sounds tight.
Trodde du kunne viske bort alt, for det vi bygde det så fort opp. Nå så
That up is really a little bit off.
det så fort opp. Det så fort opp.
I think it's tuning. Let's try moving a little bit back.
Det så fort opp.
Better.
Nå så jeg du var med han da du så meg.
Sånn, da du så meg.
Da du så
A
meg.
little bit early, I could hear that. Just want to do it this way. I want to just trim that
Da du så meg.
a little bit longer.
Da du så meg.
And by doing this, you will actually get your doubles to sound really tight. And if you didn't do this, then all that noise and all that off timing would just exponentially get worse and worse as I add more doubles, more harmonies, and so on. So now I'm just going to do that same process for the other double quickly. Let's see. Now I have two tight dubs with the lead.
Trodde du kunne viske bort alt, for det vi bygde det så fort opp. Nå så jeg du var med han da du så meg.
So now we have looked at how to comp vocals, we have looked at how to remove silence and unwanted noise, and we've looked at the timing. Now let's look at pitch and tune. So let's check out this lead. I've already got a auto-tune on this track, which is in D flat major, and I'm doing quite a bit of auto-tune. I personally like this sound, but if you're not really into the tuned pop vocals, you might want to do less of this auto-tune and do more of that manual pitch correction I'm going to show you now. So I would personally just go into the lead chorus track and I will find Melodyne. That's what I use. I have Melodyne. I will put it before the tune, and I have the Melodyne Assistant, which is not the most expensive one, but it's not the cheapest either. And to get this lead vocal into Melodyne, I just solo the vocal in Logic, and I press transfer, and then I play it.
For jeg, du var med han da du så meg. Og jeg, du lå med han mens jeg klei. Trodde du kunne viske bort alt, for det vi bygde det så fort opp. Nå så jeg, du var med han da du så meg. Hadde jeg aldri gått tilbake til deg.
Then I press space, and there we have the vocal. And I like to tune in Melodyne while having the autotune on, because I just want to fix the small stuff the autotune doesn't handle that well. And I will sometimes also just go over other stuff a little bit, like just clicking notes I can see are out of tune. So in Melodyne, if you double click a note with this main tool on, it will snap to the nearest note. And I like to do that if I can see that something is way off.
For jeg vet du var med han da du sa
Slide han. Vet du hva med han? That sounds a little bit off.
du var med han da.
And here you can see I'm basically sliding up from one note to the other. And when you see such big pitch drift, I normally cut the note in the middle of those two pitches. So I will go to the top of the note and I will get this tool, and then I will double click. And now I have cut this word in two. And then I will double click in the middle of the note and it will snap to the nearest one.
Du var med han da du så meg.
This will often just make the note cleaner and make that transition between those two pitches better.
Du var med han da du så meg. Og jeg vet du lå med han mens jeg grein. Trodde du kunne viske bort.
Sounds alright.
Du var med han da du mens jeg grein. Trodde du kunne viske bort alt. Fordi vi bygde det så fort opp. Nå så jeg du var
Maybe I will just like to keep that in the middle.
opp. Nå så jeg
Maybe I will do this.
Nå så jeg du var med han da. Du var med han da du så meg.
Just click in the middle of these to get it to the closest one.
Hadde aldri gått tilbake til deg.
We'll just do the same thing, clicking.
Hadde aldri gått tilbake.
Go.
Hadde aldri gått tilbake til.
Maybe I will click here to get these different notes.
Hadde aldri gått tilbake til deg.
And I can see this note, there's a lot of vibrato, so I might go into this, choose the pitch modulation, and just press the note and drag down. Take out a little bit of that vibrato.
Hadde aldri gått tilbake til deg.
For example, that's how I would do it in Melodyne. You can do the same thing though in Logic's flex pitch. I would just do a duplicate. You can do that. We can go into, we'll turn on the flex, choose flex pitch, and we can go in and do that. This is basically the same thing.
Jeg vet du var med han da du.
I would just go into the scale of the song. It was D flat, same C sharp, major, and you can just turn up the pitch correction to 100 on the track you want to fix.
Han da du så meg.
Do the same thing here. And you're basically just doing the same thing, but I just find that using the flex pitch in Logic gives slightly more artifacts than when I use Melodyne. So that's why I choose to use Melodyne instead. Let's delete this one. So now we have checked out some manual tuning and we have some auto tune here. Let me just show you the option in Logic. We can choose the pitch correction, which is basically auto tune. We can choose D flat major.
Trodde du kunne viske bort alt. Fordi vi bygde det så fort opp.
Basically doing the same thing.
Trodde du kunne viske bort alt. Fordi vi bygde det så fort opp.
But I just feel that autotune has a little bit of a different sound, so I prefer that. But I used to use pitch correction in Logic for many years before I bought autotune. So you can use both. Just know that that's the automatic tuning, and if you want to go in and fix the notes that the automatic tuning doesn't handle or can't handle, then try out flex pitch in Logic or Melodyne if you want the best result. So let's turn on auto tune again. And now we're just going to go through and do the same thing to my doubles. Go into Melodyne, transfer, and play it.
Trodde du kunne viske bort alt. Fordi vi bygde det så fort opp. Nå så jeg du var med han da du så meg.
And here you can hear there's a lot more notes that the autotune isn't picking up because I sung it pretty badly. And here, look at this. Here, I'm gonna split these notes. As you can see, every time I see there's a big pitch drift, I'm just splitting the notes so I can get a better tuned vocal. That one sounds a little bit weird, so I'm gonna go into the pitch drift tool. Oh, that really didn't fix it. Let's try the pitch modulation. Just drag it down a little bit. Yeah, that was a little bit better. Back to the normal tool. Again, just going through the vocal like this. It takes a little bit of time, but it's well worth it in the end. I have a... Again, a little... That sounds weird. Split it. This is supposed to be... Then the last vocal. Then just quickly, let's do the same process here.
Trodde det kunne viske bort alt, for det vi bygde det så fort opp. Trodde det kunne viske bort alt, for det vi bygde det så fort opp. Nå så jeg du var med han da du så meg.
I mean, they don't sound awful without the melodyne, but these details really matter if you want it to sound professional as possible.
Trodde det kunne viske bort alt, for det vi bygde det så fort opp. Nå så jeg du var med han da du så meg. Hadde aldri gått tilbake til deg.
And now that we actually turn on the reverb, delays, and that kind of stuff, that kind of fills out some of the spaces where we took out the unwanted noise. But now we've made sure that we don't get a buildup of a lot of noise, a lot of breaths, and that kind of thing.
Trodde det kunne viske bort alt, for det vi bygde det så fort opp. Nå så jeg du var med han da du så meg. Hadde aldri gått tilbake til deg.
Now, let me just mention that this vocal, that lead vocal, was recorded on a Røde NT-USB, which is a very cheap condenser mic, using USB to plug into the computer. And I did these dubs on this mic for, I mean, it cost like $40, $50. And this kind of editing stuff is even more important when I use such cheap and really just shitty mics, because you're gonna get more noise and more of that nasty stuff. But even if you're using a, say, normally I rent a studio where there's a mic that costs maybe $2,000 to $3,000, you're still gonna want to do this, because every single thing you do is gonna add to that pro sound that you're going for in the end. Now, hopefully you've learned something from this. We talked about how to organize your project, using a record track and dragging into the track stacks, making sure we don't lose any of the original uncomped vocal tracks. And we've also looked at how to remove unwanted noise, breaths, and so on, how to use fades properly. And we checked out how to comp before we did that. And we've also checked out how to tune manually and by using autotune and pitch correction in Logic, and looked at how to line up your dubs to the lead vocal to actually get the best sound possible. Now, if you want to learn more about producing a instrumental, then I have some remakes. I recently did a remake of Ariana Grande's Yes And, where I'll show you how I remade the track, and you can learn a bunch from that, seeing what goes into a professional sounding recording. So check out that if you want to learn more about producing and see what's behind hit songs.